I wanted to share a word of encouragement. I hope it speaks to anybody and everybody listening to this, but I hope it speaks specifically to men. I'd really like to encourage you guys because I genuinely care, because I want to be a different voice than some of the divisive, male-bashing, man-hating rhetoric that seems to be getting increasingly popular. And what I wanted to share about today was about grit. What is grit? Grit can be defined as the passion and perseverance to achieve long-term goals. It's sometimes described as mental toughness. You press on to overcome obstacles, challenges, hurdles, and opposition in order to achieve that desired long-term goal. The great thing about grit is that you can actually develop this trait. You don't need to be born with it. This might sound strange, but developing grit has been one of my favorite things about being alive, about living, because life becomes about thriving, not just surviving. I know what it's like to struggle, to try and keep my head afloat, to try and make it just one day at a time. I lived most of my life that way. I know what it's like to not have any dreams, ambitions, or goals because I'm just trying to survive. I know what it's like to be paralyzed by fear and indecision and doubt. But God establishing grit within me has helped me to live life with passion, with drive, with determination, with full engagement and excitement. And it's one of the best feelings to be fully present, fully engaged, and really excited about life. I was thinking about how God developed grit in me because I didn't have it as a child. In fact, as a child and adolescent, I was terrified of failure. I always did well in academics, but ironically, excelling in academics, I think it contributed to my fear of failure because I cared more about the grades. I cared more about the optics of looking good and looking perfect. So I limited my experiences to scenarios where success was almost guaranteed. It wasn't that I didn't know how to work hard. I was actually pretty diligent and disciplined, but I didn't know what to do with the fear, the disappointment, the embarrassment of trying really hard for something, putting in real, honest effort, yet not getting what I wanted. I remember when I experienced my first failure or rejection, the first time I really put all my effort into something, but it didn't turn out the way I expected. I was devastated. I was so upset with myself, and I was upset with God. In fact, I was so upset that I just stopped going to church for a few months. I didn't know how to process everything I was feeling. I didn't know how to process that disappointment, that pain, because I thought I had it. I thought for sure I've got this. I thought for sure this is a shoo-in. And I was so ashamed. I was so embarrassed. Looking back, I am so grateful that I experienced that loss, because what I gained from that experience, it probably far outweighs what I would have gained had I gotten what I wanted. And I wanted to share with you what I learned, what I gained, what I overcame, in the hopes that it encourages you and fuels the grit within you. The first thing I learned is that this defeat or this failure, it wasn't a statement or a reflection about my identity or my value, my worth. The reason why I felt shame and embarrassment was because I thought failing meant that I was a failure. As I processed the rejection, the failure, I had to replace the lies and the shame with God's truth. And the truth is, sure, I might have been rejected. Sure, I might have failed in this endeavor, but I was not a failure. My identity, my value, and my worth is with God. I know my worth. I know my value because of what Jesus paid for my life, for my freedom. My identity as a child of God, it hadn't changed. I was still a child of God. God still loved me. He didn't think any less of me just because I didn't get in. This defeat, this failure, it didn't break me, and it wouldn't unless I allowed it to, unless I stayed down for the count. The second thing this experience taught me, it planted that seed of grit within me, because this was the first of many defeats, many rejections, many failures. But each time things didn't turn out the way I expected, I had a choice to make. Would I lay down and stay down? Or would I dust myself off and get back up and keep going, keep advancing? And each time, by the grace of God, I chose to dust myself off and get back up and keep walking, keep going. Each time, I chose not to let the fear of failure paralyze me in this situation or in any other situation where I quote unquote failed, where I didn't get the outcome I expected. And over time, that decision to keep going, it became an automatic response. It wasn't even something I had to think about. It transformed from discipline to desire. Of course I'm going to get back up. I need to. I want to. I have to. There really is no other choice for me now. The third thing I gained from that experience, those repeated choices to persevere, to press on, to get back up, helped to establish grit inside of me. The crazy thing is, the grit is so established, so embedded into my values and thinking, and into my entire being, that I now look forward to overcoming challenges. Which is crazy because I went from being totally terrified of failing, having a tremendous fear of failure, to now almost inviting, welcoming the challenge, welcoming the opportunity to face the fear and to overcome. Grit also established related traits like courage, resilience, and ambition. Part of developing grit is, even if I'm afraid, I choose to do it scared. I don't think courage is the total eradication of fear, but it's choosing to do the thing in the face of fear, despite the fear. And learning to maneuver through that tension, it's super powerful. And now I'd rather try and risk failure than not try at all. The thought of not trying, of not giving something a chance, of not taking the risk, that's way scarier to me than failure. In fact, me posting, me sharing this bit of encouragement is me practicing what I'm preaching. Because honestly, I was really afraid to post this. It's scary to be vulnerable. The internet isn't exactly kind. But the desire to try and the passion for the vision itself, because I genuinely deeply care about women and about men, because I want to be a voice of hope, a voice of encouragement for men, because I want men to know that there are women who are rooting for them, who are for them and not against them, and more importantly, that God is for them and not against them. The desire and the vision have eclipsed whatever fear of failure, whatever fear of rejection I felt. I'm choosing to do it scared. And I want to encourage and inspire other people, and especially men, because I feel like you guys can be so incredibly tough on yourselves. If you're on a path of discovery or pursuit of a personal dream, a desire of your heart, a goal or an ambition, don't give up. Take a step, make a move. Keep trying, keep going, keep walking. If you really go after something that's important to you, if you really put in the effort, I don't think there's any way you will actually lose. Because even those moments where you hit walls and obstacles, even those moments where maybe things don't turn out the way you expect, those are opportunities to make a choice, to press on, to overcome. Those are learning, growth, and recalibration opportunities. And those moments are just as important, even invaluable as well. I wanted to share another story that I hope will further encourage and inspire you. So John Krasinski, he's an actor most famously known for his role on The Office. the American version of the British sitcom. During an interview, he shared the backstory of how he got the role. Basically, he was a struggling actor trying to land a gig, but just kept getting rejected. Meanwhile, he's working as a waiter in New York City, and this is just not it. This is not the life he imagined for himself. In frustration, he calls his mom. He tells her he's done. Like, I'm done. I want to go home. And she says to him, look, it's September right now. Why don't you give it until December? Just give it a few more months. And if you haven't changed your mind, if you haven't landed a role yet, then yeah, I'll come get you. Then come home. Literally 3 weeks later, he landed his dream job on The Office. He got the job that completely changed the trajectory of his life. That is insane. Just 3 weeks later. So guys, you never know how far or how close your breakthrough is. It could be a day away, a week away, 3 weeks away. And yeah, maybe even a year or a couple years away. Or it could be right around the corner. Dude, John Krasinski's mom is the real MVP. She's so legit. I saw that interview and I was like, I want to be like her when I grow up. And I pray that what I'm sharing is that voice of encouragement for anybody on the other end of this, and especially for the guys who might be listening to this. You never know how far or how close that breakthrough, that victory is. You never know. This comedian recently shared an inspirational insight he received from a friend, and I'm paraphrasing, but his friend said something like, I don't think people fail. I think people quit or give up. Dude, that's so real. But at least for me, it's also such a hopeful insight, because that means in some sense we get to choose our own adventure, because we get to determine whether we will quit or give up, whether we will get back up and keep going. Maybe we don't get to decide when or how things will play out, but we can own our role and stay in the course. The final exhortation I want to share is, whether or not you believe it, whether or not you know it, you have a God-given identity, a God-given purpose over your life. And that's true whether or not you believe it, whether or not you know it. Truth is truth regardless of our opinion. Truth doesn't change based on our situation or experiences. I was able to overcome the shame and feeling like a total failure because my identity was secure in God, because I knew He loved me, because I knew He was with me, that He was for me. Even when I was my own worst enemy, even when it felt like the world was against me. And I want to tell you that the love of God, the truth of His love in Jesus, that is the firmest foundation you can build upon. It's the only unshakable, unbreakable, immovable, unwavering, eternal foundation. And His love also gives me purpose, so that success and praise, they're not my identity either. In other words, I don't live for the praise of men, but I also don't die by the rejection. Success won't make me, and failure won't break me, because I know who I am, and I know what my purpose is. Of course, I want to be successful, but I'm not more valuable or worthy. I'm not a better person because of success. My value is set and sealed by God's love, demonstrated in the cross of Christ. The thing is, I wasn't looking for God. That was never the plan. But He found me. So if you're seeking, if you're asking, if you're knocking, if you've been wondering who you are and what your purpose is, Jesus says He'll answer. He'll show you the way, because He is the way, the truth, and the life. So guys, don't give up. Don't quit. Don't give in. You are not your worst day. You are not that rejection or that failure or that mistake or that disappointment or that defeat. You have God-given significance. Make the choice to dust yourself off and get back up. And shoot your shot. You never know what this could be. You never know where this could lead. And you know what? I think some of the best stories, at least in my opinion, are those against all odds stories. Those stories of the unlikely hero who overcomes, who triumphs against all odds. The Bible is full of those kinds of stories. What you're going through right now, it could be the making of yet another unlikely hero. You. It might reveal who you are. It might reveal the superhero hidden underneath. What you're going through right now could be the making of the most amazing story. It could be a story that you tell your future kids and grandkids. It could be your favorite story and their favorite story ever. It might be the very story that somebody else needs to hear. Your victory, your breakthrough, it could be just right around the corner. As one of my favorite worship leaders says, don't give up, don't give in. If you don't quit, you win.